Hi guys, it's Alex here, and today you can probably see I'm doing something a little bit different if you're viewing this from my channel. Today I'm going to attempt to do a video response to a guy who I've actually recently discovered on YouTube. I'll put a link in the description. His channel is JosephODonnellMusic, and yeah, he did a thread right at the end of 2010, and I'm going to attempt to answer those questions. If you haven't been on his channel before, it's a good idea to check it out, because him and a bunch of other guys have got a really nice little community of record collectors, kind of posting threads, videos and responses to each other, and it's it's really cool, and they got some great videos up, so go check that out, and yeah, I'll get on with it. Okay, so question one is, when you were a child, were you brought up on kind of genre or artist? And the simple answer is no, I wasn't really. It's only in very recent times that I've become really a fan of music properly. When I was kind of 10 years old through to about 15, I was just listening to whatever I was surrounded by at the time, and being a young, easily led astray child, I was kind of brainwashed into liking all this. Thinking back, it was absolute crap, what I was listening to, just kind of mainstream pop, and nothing that really had any resonance for me or significance. So it wasn't until I was about 15, I'd say, I started to get into music properly. And the first artist, if I remember rightly, that I became interested in was Cat Stevens, a famous folk. I guess you could say he was a folk musician of the 60s and 70s. And so I got into him, bought his greatest hits CD, listened to that over and over again, and it really just turned me on to all these other genres and all these other artists from, everything from the 60s to the present day. And yeah, obviously that also turned me on to Dylan as well. I got into Dylan about a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago now. And again, like the Cat Stevens thing, I bought a greatest hits CD, listened to it religiously for like a few months, and then just gradually started building up a collection, and now I'm obviously a huge fan. So yeah, I was as a youngster, I wasn't really a huge music fan. I was just listening to whatever my friends were listening to, or whatever was on the radio, or I didn't even know who the Beatles were when I was younger. That's how clueless I was. And now it's completely the opposite. I'm gradually becoming almost fanatical. So yeah, that's the answer to question one. Okay, so question two is a little bit more difficult, because the question is, are you getting any records for Christmas? And obviously that doesn't really apply anymore. So I'm going to edit that question a little bit, just to, did you get any records for Christmas? And the answer is yes, I did. In fact, most of the records I own now, I have a very small collection, by the way, but most of the records I own now I got around Christmas time or for Christmas. I got my first turntable at Christmas, so since then I've been building up my collection, but it's still very young. But these are the records I got for Christmas. Two Bob Dylan records. First one, Bob Dylan at Budokan. And before getting this, I hadn't ever heard this show before. I don't own it on a CD or on iTunes. It's the first time I heard this, and it's a pretty good show. It's a double LP, and yeah, it's a really good record. So that's number one. The second Bob Dylan record I got for Christmas was Bob Dylan's Greatest Hits, Volume 3. I believe this was released in 1967, and this has got about 10 tracks on it, from his earliest album to Blonde on Blonde, so the first part of his career in the 60s. And yeah, it's being a massive fan, obviously I wanted to build up a Dylan collection as soon as possible, so this was a good way to start that. I believe when this was released, it contained a poster that has since become more valuable than the actual record itself. but someone's obviously nabbed that before they've sold it on, so yeah, bit unfortunate, but yeah, that's the second record. And then finally, Louis Armstrong, 20 Golden Greats. So this is kind of a greatest hits, again, compilation record, but it's got the famous ones, so like What a Wonderful World, Mac the Knife, and I hadn't really, even heard of Louis Armstrong before I got this. My mum is a huge fan, and she obviously saw this, it caught her eye, and she, bought it for me. And I've become a fan since getting this, and he's definitely an artist I'll be looking into buying more records in the future. So that's Louis Armstrong, and that's the final record I actually got at Christmas time. Obviously, I said earlier that most of the records I did, I have purchased in the last month, but those are the three I actually got at Christmas time. So yeah. Okay, question 3. What is your currently most desired record? I thought about this for a while, and I managed to narrow it down to 3 records, because obviously my collection's so small at the moment that I dearly love to own, a lot of records. But I narrowed it down to 3. The first one being Highway 61 Revisited, second one being Blonde on Blonde. Both of those obviously by Bob Dylan and part of his Holy Trinity. I think they call it that. Supposedly the peak of his career. Certainly, probably my 2 favourite records of his, or close to that anyway. So I'd love to own either one of those in a nice reissue. And then the third one is The Velvet Underground and Nico, released in 1967, I believe. And to be honest, I'd love to own that record just for the peelable banana on the front cover. I think that's an amazing touch. I don't know if that was Warhol's decision, but it was that would just be so cool to have that. But no, it's a great album, probably my favourite of theirs. Lou Reed at his songwriting, probably his songwriting peak, just electrifyingly good songs. And Nico's voice as well, just kind of adds another dimension to that record. It's just marvellous. I love everything about that album. So yeah, those would be the 3. But obviously there are so many others as well that I'd love to own. Okay, so question 4: have you ever met and created a friendship with an artist? Also, who would you really like to do this with? And no, I haven't actually met an artist. There has been various bands that come through our town every year, but I haven't actually kind of got round to going to any of them yet. And I'm quite new to this whole music thing, so I haven't gone to any festivals or gigs yet. So I haven't really had a chance to meet anyone famous. But if I had a choice, obviously I'd love to meet Bob Dylan. It's never going to happen. It's a bit of a wishful thinking, but no, if I could meet Bob Dylan, that'd be awesome. I don't think I'd be able to figure him out because he's such a mysterious character. But just sitting down and talking to him about his illustrious career, and I'm sure he has loads of great stories to tell as well. But no, obviously Dylan's my favourite artist, so just meeting him would be a dream come true. But obviously I'd also love to meet any one of the Beatles. Paul McCartney seems like a really nice guy. So yeah, those would probably be the ones I would choose to form a friendship with. And that's okay. So question 5: what record would you describe as being the record you listen to explain that vinyl sounds better than MP3? And it's quite a difficult question for me, obviously. But I picked out a record that for some reason sounds slightly better than the other ones to my untrained ear. And that one is the Kinks' Sunny Afternoon. Great band. This is actually my dad's first record, and he's passed it down to me. So it's probably quite an early pressing, and it's in mono. And for some reason, I have no idea why, it just sounds a little bit better than my other records. But I know there are people out there that can probably tell huge differences between MP3 and vinyl. But obviously, being new to the format, it takes a little bit of time to really compare them properly. But even in the month of having my turntable, I've become, you know, a big fan of vinyl. In general, I just think it does sound crisper and just, you know, a little bit better. Yeah, I was watching a video on YouTube earlier, and the guy was saying that MP3 files just sound so compacted and squashed that it's just you lose so much of the quality of the original recording. And you know, obviously I haven't trained my ear to pick up the differences in the same way as other people, but I can see where he's coming from, if you know what I mean. It's definitely a different experience, and I'm sure, you know, when I'm sitting back here at home, it's great to just put a vinyl record on the turntable and listen to it and relax to it. But there's always going to be a place for my iPhone and listening to MP3s, because, you know, it's great to have your whole collection, you know, in the palm of your hand at all times. So they fit different purposes for me, but I'm certainly coming around to the fact that vinyl is definitely the better format for listening to music. Okay, question 6 I'm going to skip because I don't have any record collecting stories yet. I'm hoping to have lots of experiences in the future of collecting records. I'm looking forward to that, but I don't have any stories at the moment, so I'm going to skip on to question 7. And that would be, what record have you had the most excitement in finding? And that simple answer to that is this one right here, Buddy Holly Legend. The album's called Legend, and these are from the original master tapes. And the reason why this was so exciting to find was because it was just such a bargain. I went to a street fair in Oxford, and was just looking through all the vinyl they had, and this was like, I think this was £1 or something ridiculous like that. And it's a coincidence really, and because I'd recently started listening to Buddy Holly. I'd bought something on iTunes of his, and just seeing this, being new to vinyl and being new to Buddy Holly, it's just such a nice coincidence to find this record for such a cheap price. So yeah, it's just really exciting to find this, and yeah, I'm a huge fan now. This has his biggest hits on it, but I have some other recordings as well. But no, this was really exciting to find. Okay, so the 8th and final question is pick out the 5th record in a category of your choice. And obviously I'm rather limited in categories, so I'm just going to pick out the 5th record of my collection of 10 records, and see which one it is. It could be one I've already showed you today, who knows. But here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ah, a new one. Cowboy Favourites. Picked up this record about a month ago. It was really cheap. It was like 50p or something. And I put this on in the background sometimes when I'm working or just chilling. And it's just, yeah, it's got some good tracks on it. But to be honest, I don't know much about it. But this is the 5th record in my collection, apparently. So that concludes the 8 questions. Thanks to Joseph ODonnellMusic. As I say, I'll put a link in the description to his channel. And you should probably subscribe, or maybe do a response like I'm doing, who knows. Yeah, another thing, I'm just sorry about the cold. I've been sniffly and really fluey and ill for a few weeks, well, a couple of weeks now. So sorry if I sound a bit off. But yeah, thanks to Joseph, and I'll be back with more videos very, very shortly. And if you could subscribe to my channel, that would be excellent. And yeah, I'll see you soon. Thanks, guys.